I believe we're going to win in November, and I can believe we can do a lot better than that for our congressional candidates. I don't believe there's anywhere else in America where there's a candidate who's the grandson of a former president. There's nowhere else in America when we can elect a woman and send a woman to Washington, D.C., who's the daughter of a former United States Senator. There's not another ticket in the United States that's as inspirational and as qualified as what you have here in Georgia. With an individual like Chris Irvin, whose grandfather, Tommy Irvin, served for 57 years in the United States, right here in Georgia, longer than any other Democrat that served in our country. And so I'm here to tell you that it's time for us as Democrats to not only be unapologetic, but to be excited, to be on fire, and to show this state that it truly is a blue state, because we have more voters here that are just unregistered, and if we do our part, we'll get them to the polls and they'll show up and vote. There's an ancient proverb that says if you want to run fast, run alone, but if you want to run far, run with others. And I am beyond excited and pleased and appreciative to have the opportunity this year to run for public service with the Public Service Commission with people like you. Georgia in the last decade under Republican leadership has been in the top 10 in 3 main categories. Number 1 in foreclosures, number 2 in bankruptcy, and number 3 in unemployment. Yet and still we have a governor in this state that's touting that this is the best place to do business. And I just testified to the EPA. Earlier, you heard that the EPA was having hearings right here in Georgia, and all 5 of our public service commissioners adamantly voted against and voiced their support against the Clean Energy Plan, which, by the way, in the state of Georgia, there are 300,000 children that suffer from asthma. And this plan that's been presented is a plan that 50 years from now, when we're remembering what President Obama did, when we remember his legacy, he's going to be remembered for health care. We're going to get Jason Carter elected so we can have the Affordable Care Act right here in Georgia. But outside of the Affordable Care Act, one of the things that President Obama will be remembered for is this Clean Energy Plan. A plan for us to put in place renewable energy standards that'll help us to promote clean energy in this country, and right here in Georgia. Right here in Georgia, we have a plan outside of Macon that emits about 21 megatons of carbon per year. 21 million megatons, that's the equivalent of the entire state of Maine. We've got to do a better job of, 1, showing up as Democrats and standing up for what we know is right, because there are people around this state that are waiting for us to show up and give this state the leadership it needs to put us back on track to where we need to go. That's number 1. But number 2, as I look around this room, I'll be honest with you, there are a couple 100,000 people that are registered around the state that just need you to remind them why it's important to vote. And I got to Georgia in 1988. I'm the son of a United States Army Airborne Ranger. And to all the veterans that are here, we appreciate you. We can go ahead and give it up for the veterans. Now, I've got about another minute, so I'm going to be quick because I want your support and I don't want to get talked about the guy that took up all the time. But what I'll say to you really quickly is that right here in this room, we have the opportunity to truly put this state on the right track. I got here in 1988, and I don't remember a time where you could have been more excited to go to the polls and vote. We can make history having 5 African-American women right now that are running for constitutional office. We can send Georgia's first woman to Washington, D.C. We can put a governor back where they're supposed to be. We can do all these things. But if we sit down and we're not excited, look, I didn't drive 3.5 hours from coming to Georgia to just be comfortable, calm, and collective as a Democrat. I don't think anyone in here is average or mediocre. I think that we know that we have a tremendous job ahead of us. But it's going to take us knocking on our neighbors' doors. It's going to take us talking to Republicans, even though they may think different, they're voting against their interests. And when we let them know what it is they're voting against, I believe some of them might have enough common sense. If common sense were common, everybody would have it. So unfortunately, we've got to do a little bit more work. But on a serious note, We've got to be, as Democrats, more serious about our platform. Know your platform. Meet each and every one of these statewide candidates. Do your part. And I guarantee you, in November, we'll win. When I get elected, let me just share this with you and I'll take my seat. District 4, this is a statewide election, but District 4 covers the entire northern part of Georgia, the most conservative part of Georgia. With your support, you can send me to the Public Service Commission and we'll have a Democrat representing the most conservative part of this state. And in 2016, we'll send the president back to the White House. Thank you all so much. God bless you. And let's go ahead and win in November.